Greetings and salutations. Introduction to Sociology, micro lesson number 1. All right, there are 3 main sociological perspectives, theories, paradigms, whatever you want to call it. Functionalism, which is macro, conflict theory, macro, symbolic interactionism, micro. I'll get into macro and micro here in a bit. My Kentucky accent's coming out. All right, Durkheim is the father of functionalism. According to Durkheim, society is made up of large-scale structures which require balance for society to properly function. Functionalism is considered macro theory because we look at society in general as opposed to the individual or micro interactions. See, I told you I'd bring it back to macro and micro. So macro looks at society in general. Micro looks at individual interactions. All right, so according to Durkheim, functionalism sees society as a giant cogwheel. Government, religion, economy, family, media, peers, what have you. So the cogwheels all have to move in line together, or what happens? It stops working. So the biggest takeaway with functionalism is that the institutions in our society must achieve balance. Otherwise, our society is dysfunctional. Dysfunction is why we need sociology. Sociologists are the superheroes. So ever since the Industrial Revolution, sociology became a legitimate social science, and it's sociologists that look at patterns in society in order to create solutions for change, positive change. I'll throw that in there. All right, moving on to conflict theory. Karl Marx is the father of conflict theory. Marx saw society as an arena of conflict because people are always fighting over limited resources. The people who do not have always want more, and the people who do have will not share, hence the conflict. Marx did note that the relationship between owners and workers is the foundation of conflict, but since the original idea of conflict theory, sociologists have extrapolated to say that other issues are in the arena of conflict besides just the clash between the owners and the workers. Get into that in a little bit, trying to keep this short and sweet, like me. All right, so when we speak of this arena of conflict between the owners and workers, we need to consider social stratification. Social stratification is the distribution of wealth. Best visualized with a pyramid. You have a few rich, more middle class, and then even more of the lower class. Social inequalities are the uneven distribution of wealth. So you're going to see inequalities between the rich and the lower class. You're going to see inequalities between the middle class and the lower class, and so on. Social stratification, again, is the distribution of wealth, and the social inequalities are the uneven distributions of wealth. So which social inequalities exist in the United States and across the globe? I'll throw that in there for you. All right, the most common social inequalities in the United States are race, class, and gender. The resulting social problems: racism, classism, and sexism. The relationship between the owners and workers did create the original idea of society being an arena of conflict, but that arena of conflict has expanded to include race and sex. Just in case you didn't know, classism is socioeconomic status. which again is where you fit in the proverbial pyramid regarding social stratification. So as a reminder, functionalism and conflict theory are macro theories looking at society as a whole. Now moving on to symbolic interactionism, a micro theory. Symbolic interactionism. Our daily interactions attach meaning through the exchange of verbal and nonverbal communication so we can interpret the world around us. Most of us interact with many, many people throughout any given day, whether you're at a store or in a classroom or at work or with family. I'll be honest, today I've only interacted with my son. I rarely leave my house unless it's to go to Universal Orlando, and then I interact with people throughout the day, obviously, especially when I'm waiting in line. But what I want you to consider is that throughout the day, you are having many, many, many micro interactions. So just think about it. How many people have you interacted with just today? All right, let's look at Cooley and his idea of the looking glass self. It's a three-pronged approach within symbolic interactionism. And the looking glass self is just one way that we can interpret those individual interactions. So one, we imagine how we appear to others. Two, we react to the judgment we imagine. Three, we develop a sense of self according to the perceived judgment and react. I like to be entertaining, so I'll give a personal example of the looking glass self. A few months ago, I went to the doctor, and I'm not going to lie, I have put on some weight just because I'm getting older. I'm pushing 60 years old, even though I don't look it. So when it was time for me to get on the scale, the nurse started laughing out loud about my weight. Okay. So I imagined that she thought that I needed to lose some weight. So I reacted to the judgment. And again, the judgment was that the nurse was laughing at me for my weight since I had gained some weight. And then three, I developed a sense of myself according to the perceived judgment, and then I react. I came home and I was depressed for like a good 2 weeks, and then I got angry, and then I decided I'm never going back to that doctor's office again, and I have not been back there to that day, and I'm not overweight, but her laughing at me when I got on the scale made me feel bad because I felt that she was judging me for my weight. And then my sense of self was kind of in the toilet. So that's a humorous example for you. Anyways, anyhow. So that's a very, very brief overview of the sociological perspectives, theories, paradigms, whatever you want to call it. They're interchangeable. Functionalism, conflict theory, and symbolic interactionism. If you have any questions, comments, critiques, or compliments, please shoot me a text or an email or request to schedule a phone call or a video conference. I am here for you. Peace out. Yo.